I'm Heather Branch here with Mike asking for his insight on the things you can be working on now to better prepare for your financial future. MyLifePlanFinancial.com is where you can start your conversation with Mike and his team. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there or again, visit us anytime at MyLifePlanFinancial.com. So we're going to talk about this Nick Saban story. Did you read? It was in the news feeds and the internets and the ESPN pages about this thing that his wife did when he retired. Did you see it before I sent you this story that I wanted to do? You didn't see it?
Mm-mm.
Our mutual friend Brandon Bowen sent it to me originally. I was like, this is funny. And maybe every wife, every woman, take note of what Mrs. Saban did the day after he retired. It made me laugh. Also, we're getting to the start of summer, so what the heck are we doing talking about college football? But I guess many Americans would argue, why would we not talk about college football at all times?
Yeah.
So it's been over 3 months since famed Alabama football coach Nick Saban retired from the sport. But he was telling ESPN it did not take long for his wife, Terry, to give him his marching orders. So here is what he said to ESPN himself. This comes directly from the horse's mouth.
The day after I retired, I got the 12 commandments of retirement. So I've tried to live by them, but I found out that if I do my chores, then I can go play golf. So I get up early and get my chores done. And then it's like, now do I have a free pass to go do what I want to do?
What are your chores?
I make my bed. I take the garbage out. I have to wait for her to eat together, and I have to leave a little food just because that's polite to tell people that you really thought it was good.
I have to wait for her to eat. Something says to me that probably when he was this big baller shot caller, head coach of Alabama, he got away with a lot of stuff that she's like, all right, as long as you're doing what you're doing and bringing in these checks or whatever. But now that you're Mr. Retired Man, we're going to play my game for a while.
Miss Terry's kind of a legend. Like, there's so many stories. Like, if you want to cry a little bit, watch the stories of Alabama football players talking about Miss Terry.
Really?
They love her.
Aww.
She brings them over for food. She treats them like her kids. I think that was part of his disconnect. Like, when he actually went to go retire, he goes, because kids are leaving so quickly, we're not able to forge these relationships. Yeah. And those relationships not only directed him, but directly affected Miss Terry. But she's kind of a legend in the space. And it is funny how the things he's saying, I got my chore list now. It's stuff that we do all the time.
Every day. All the time.
He's like, make my bed. It's like, all right, well, that means probably what happened is for the last 50 years, he was out the door at 5 a.m. She was in bed, so she made the bed. So for the last 50 years, she's handled his half of the work because he was a high-functioning, high-motor, just legend. Waiting for her to eat. Is another funny one.
But that was the thing, because I guess some of them, she did an interview, I think, with ESPN as well, where they were asking her about it. And so she revealed, because there was apparently she left him some note where it was the 12 commandments of retirement. She wrote them out for him. And so some of them have hit the internet from her. And those were the eating commandment, the couch commandment, which was my favorite one, the Tech 101 commandment. Did you read this, the couch commandment?
No.
Where it's in the past, she would go get a blanket for herself when they were sitting on the couch watching something. And so now she is saying, I want you to bring me a blanket when I'm sitting on the couch and I am cold. And the tech commandment, because apparently this guy has never sent a text message before.
I did
He
see
never
that.
sent an email.
Yeah.
She was like, you will learn how to function on your own in the tech world. Nick.
Some of this I'm surprised by. Some of this I'm not surprised by. Like, he's just...
How do you beat the head coach of Alabama and you've never sent a text message?
He's
like,
right
how are
here.
you communicating with people?
Yeah, he doesn't pick his own food. He doesn't pick his own clothes. He has everything picked and decided for him. So, there's a thing called mind share.
Yeah.
How much mental space you have in a day.
Yeah.
And I heard a guy speak one time, and he gave a great presentation. He goes, imagine your brain has $10 to spend every day. And every task you give it takes $1. Some take 2 or 3, but even like regular tasks take $1. It's like, why is it sometimes when we're super busy and someone says, what do you want to eat? We have a hard time picking. Well, because we're pretty tapped out. And so he goes, every decision you make through the day eats up $1. So it doesn't
It's a
take much
tax.
to get to the point where you've taken all $10 and you're out. And now you're trying to still finish your day with not a lot of brain space left. Well, in the same way, now that's a little bit of a minimalization, but there's a scientific backing to it. So in the same way, everything that you can delegate frees up more dollars for the things that are more important. That's why Jim Harbaugh wore his khakis and his Michigan shirt and his Michigan hat. Like he had
Well,
the
I was going
same
to say,
outfits over and
isn't
over
there
again.
something about like Steve Jobs? He always wore the black turtleneck and the jeans because he was like, I don't feel like. And then I think President Obama even had a conversation when he was in office. He was like, he always wore like a blue shirt and gray suit pants. He was like, I don't feel like making that. I don't want to waste my energy making that decision. So I
No
just
dollars
wear the same
spent.
thing every day. No dollars spent. So that's interesting that that you look at very successful people and how a lot of them will wear the same kind of clothes all the time because they're like, I'm not wasting my money.
If you don't want to eat the same food all the time, you tell your receptionist or your assistant, hey, here's the things I like on this menu. Get something here every day by noon.
Yep.
It's just one less decision to make. So it's not surprising. The tech one is pretty funny, though, to have never, you're right, though. It's impressive at this point of life to have never sent an email or text,
world we live in.
Which actually speaks even more to his leadership abilities to say, like, you have delegated and empowered people around you so
delegated out somebody to send my text messages and emails.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
good for you,
why?
Coach.
Because what I won't delegate is football. And so what do you do about the recruiting? All right, well, I have people to recruit. I have people to do this. I have people to do that. And if you make the football so good, part of that recruiting is already taken care of. And that's what he did.
So this brings me to you because you work in the service industry. You serve the folks that come into the office, and you actually are probably some of these people's people. You were saying that Coach Saban has people, and you are people to some of your clients. Like you're the guy that they come to saying, here's my money. Make sure I have money when I'm old. Make sure that I have money to cover the healthcare bills. Make sure that I will have growth, but without too much risk. Here you go.
Yeah.
So thinking about Miss Terry's 12 Commandments of Retirement.
Yeah.
Do you have a list of 10 or 12 or maybe just 3 things that you would say, these are Mike Douglas's commandments of retirement?
Yeah. So if we talk about retirement planning and how to retire and what you should do, one of the most important things is know who you want to be. That's number one, is know who you want to be. Because when you retire and you give up a job or a career or something you've been doing for the last 25, 30 years, that has become your identity. Now, if you have a lot of hobbies outside, that's great, and you should. If you're heavily involved in church or charities or gardening or golfing or biking, whatever it is, know who you want to be, because a lot of times we can get lost in that. There also the element of who you want to be with is part of that. Do you have kids and grandkids who are nearby or who have moved around? Are you married? And now you need to prepare for the fact, in a good way, that you're about to see a whole lot of each other. Right? That's new. I had one couple who she has maintained the home for 43 years. He has worked for GM for 43 years. And over the years, he's just really put in his time, and she's done her task, and she's taken care of everything at home. And then the last 4 years of his work life, they actually moved him out of town to a new plant. And so for the last 4 years, he would leave on Monday morning extra early, go work. He'd stay in an apartment through Thursday night. Friday would work and come home for the weekend.
So he wasn't even at home in
wasn't
the
at home. And so for the last 4 years, it was like 50-50. They were together or they weren't.
Right.
And that's a lot. That's really, really hard. And it takes a really strong marriage, one, to get through that. But also then the day he retired, he was home all the time.
All day long.
And he's an engineer brain. And so what does he do? He starts moving the Tupperware cabinets because the kitchen's not functional, or he starts rearranging things. And she's like,
he's in the wrong place.
This is a problem. And so he was home for he was home for like 3-4 weeks. And she's like, you got to get a job. Like, you have to find something to keep your busy brain busy.
Be a Walmart greeter. Get out of here.
Yeah. And so he did. And so that was like a part-time job is all he needed, but he wanted to be with her. He's like, I'm excited to be back home, but know what that life is going to look like. So know who you want to be, know who you want to be with, and know where you want to go. Because if you know who you are, well, who are we? Well, we're travelers, we're golfers, we're this, we're that, whatever. Who do I want to be with? Well, I want to be with my spouse. I want to be with my kids, my grandkids. I got buddies that I golf with, or whatever it is, your group of people. And then also knowing where you want to go, not necessarily by destination. It can be destination. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Africa. I want to go, Myrtle Beach, whatever it is. I want to snowbird. That can be it. Or it could be more of a vision of the future of where do we want to go? Well, what we would like to do is we'd like to create charities. We would like to be philanthropic. We would like to be generous, or we'd like to save for our kids or grandkids, or there's all these different things. So if you know who you are, who you want to be with, and where you want to go, those are the big things, because a lot of times what we do is we let our investments determine who we get to be, who we get to be with, and where we get to go. We don't want the tail to wag the dog. If we understand really clearly who we are, who we want to be with, and where we want to go, we then build a retirement plan around that says, based on taxes, based on investments and insurances and all these different things, Social Security, legacy planning, all this. If we use all that together, we can make sure that you are checking off the boxes you wanted. You're not being told what goes in those boxes. It's just a different way of living. And in the same way, Miss Terry knew exactly who she is. She knew exactly where her life is and what she wanted life to look like. But she also knew the day he retires, these things have to change. And it's things he needed to learn. And so her rules or her commandments aren't for the purpose of being negative. They're for the purpose of being cooperative, right? She's teaching
setting
him
boundaries is not a bad thing either.
She's teaching him basic courtesies that he's never had to do because she never enforced them, because she knew he was so focused here that he was not. I bet he's never once thought about the fact that he's potentially being rude by not grabbing a blanket for her when he comes over to the couch. He's never thought about it.
Right.
And in our relationships,
she forgave him of that in that working space, but now we're in retirement space and we got to make some adjustments. Yeah. It's different now.
She's like, it's a little bit about me now. Right. I've lived my whole life letting it be about you. Now it's a little bit about me. Yeah. She's earned that right. She has been a dogmatic and faithful supporter of him because it's not even like she's like, well, we've been in Alabama for the last 50 years. No, they were all over the place. They were Bowling Green. They were Cleveland. They were Michigan State, LSU, Miami Dolphins, Alabama. Like she's left everywhere over and over again, left everything to go start brand new. Yeah. And now as they start brand new, she goes, you're coming to me. And this is how we're going to live life. And I think it's a beautiful thing for both of them. And I love the fact that he's joking about it, but he loves doing it. I guarantee you he loves it. Like when he says, I got to do my chores before I can go golfing, I think he really enjoys that. Just in the space of, I'm doing my part, I'm contributing, this is what life looks like. It's pretty cool to see. And for a person like him to go through everything they've gone through, to live the life they've lived, and to now have these sets of rules that they're living by, it's pretty fun. And knowing what that's supposed to look like. And so many people get into retirement. I think it's great that she had the list before he retired. So many people get into retirement and don't have a clue those three things we talked about: who you want to be, who you want to be with, and where you want to go. And those are conversations that we have with people where we say, hey, let's help you know the questions you don't even know to ask. On our website, mylifeplanfinancial.com, there's a button that says Start Your Retirement Roadmap Today. Click on that button, and we will come to you, and we'll have these conversations, and we will ask you, hey, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be with? All these things, and really get your brain to start understanding the pivot that happens when you go into retirement. So it's a different lifestyle. It's a different model. And we do that type of thing all the time. So mylifeplanfinancial.com, and click on the Start Your Retirement Roadmap Today button, and we'll gladly have that conversation.
How many people are surprised at those questions? They come to you seeking some financial advice, seeking a lot of financial advice.
Yeah, I think.
How many are surprised? And also, when do those get folded? I'm interested, like, when do you present those questions in the conversations you have with people?
Within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because who cares about investments if you don't know what you want to do with the money?
Yeah.
And so people come in and they always want to, like when we sit down, they bring in their folder and they set it in front of us and say, here's my retirement. And I think that's just such a bad miscommunication between them. And it's a cognitive dissonance where it's like, your retirement is not your retirement accounts. Your accounts are just tools in your tool belt towards the life you want to live. Your retirement is 25, 30 years of your life. It is this new person that you are, this jobless new nomad who has to figure out where they want to go and what life looks like. And to call your retirement accounts your retirement really minimizes the power of the opportunity you have. So it starts really early. And we have those conversations. It leads right in and say, hey, What's your name? Where are you from? How did you come across us? Who do you want to be in retirement? And people go, whoa. And I can't tell how many times we see like husband and wife look at each other and
Blank.
go,
What?
I don't know. Be
Huh?
like, you don't know who you want to be? No, I've never had to think about that. Okay. And then we help them understand it. You kind of work through those questions because it's asking more of a 10,000 foot view of retirement. And people get so busy in the weeds that we forget that we have to learn to go above all that fray
Yeah.
and see the landscape. Because 20 years from now, you can't go back and make decisions for you 20 years from now. Future you is counting on today you to make certain decisions that prepare you for the future. And if you don't have those conversations that draw you out of the weeds to above it all and look at that 10,000 foot view,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that's done before you live out your retirement life.
MyLifePlanFinancial.com is where you can go to, again, start the conversation with Mike and his team. Have you asked yourself these questions? You've worked so hard to earn and save, but now you're going to spend the next 2, 3, sometimes 4 decades hanging out with yourself and with your family and hopefully with your money rising up to meet you in that space. So knowing who you want to be and who you want to be with and where you want to go, if you've not asked yourselves those questions and married them into your financial plan, Mike and his team are here to help you do that. MyLifePlanFinancial.com. We also have links posted in the show notes. So you can just click there.